Hi, welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, Ed Smith. This morning we're going to take a look back at the last 7 teams that were outlined last week and just kind of review them very quickly on a high level. Um, Kind of interesting. It looks like 5 of the 7 I actually commish, and then the first two were teams that I don't commish. It just had some fascination, I guess, to get higher on the list. Looking at the 200 Superflex league that we outlined first, just one of my favorite things about that league is the um, 6 rookie draft picks that we have this year. So excited for those picks. Top Boss did actually make a trade last night in that, and I don't remember all the details, but that'll be coming up on a future video on trading. And so, kind of sort of making some trades just to accomplish that goal. Then we outlined COVID, Final Derby, Local, Travers, and Double Doink, and all those are leagues that I run. So not too much different in scoring there, but basically the same kind of roster builds that took different shapes. And important to understand that as we outline drafting, and that's what we're going to really take a deep dive into today is drafting, draft setup, some of the things that I like versus some of the things that just are out there and do work. Um, I did listen to some videos because I think that's how you do establish fairly good content. And so some drafting setups that maybe are out there, and I'm sure it's not all inclusive, and there's many more, but some of the ways that people enjoy drafting, and I thought maybe drafting was be the number one item that people like to do in fantasy football, but I did poll it a little bit over the last couple days on my Discord channels and in some of the chats that I'm in, and it wasn't the number one like I had anticipated. So I had maybe thought that startup drafts, rookie drafts, supplemental drafts, um, dispersal drafts, all kinds of drafts were the most exciting time in fantasy football. But that actually probably will help me rethink my strategy a little bit of trying to not react emotionally. So I think that's one of the things that I get caught up in the most is making sure that I'm not an emotional player. And I think that most people are emotional, but if the enjoyment is not in drafting like I had anticipated, then that means that people are becoming less and less emotional and more mechanical in their approach, which I think ultimately leads to better play. So that kind of tells me that the people I'm talking to anyway in the Discord channels are becoming less and less emotional and going to make this game a little bit harder as we go if the less emotional they are. So drafting and some setups that we've seen and really enjoyed is the first thing that you need to determine is how is that order going to be determined. And I've seen things from ping pong balls to random items. I mean, a lot of people like to choose their draft slot, and choosing your draft slot has to have some incentive possibly for maybe those later drafters beyond getting that rookie or getting the turn at the second. I personally like third round reversal because I think it kind of allows that last, and we'll look at 12 team leagues, but it lets that 212 also, I'm sorry, that 201 also have the 301, and so if you have 112, 201, 301, you really have a pretty good advantage for not getting those top players right off the board, right off the get go, especially in a dynasty startup draft. Now, if you are going to do that, however, it's important, I believe, that you don't have the rookie draft separate and inverse of the vet draft if you're going to do a third round reversal, because now you're going to slant it too heavily towards that 212, that 112 being the ideal draft slot. If they also get the 101 in the rookie draft, if you are just going to do a genuine snake draft in that startup draft, then I think it's okay to just do inverse for the rookie picks. I personally enjoy, I think kicker or DB has been the things that we've used most frequently for rookie selections, but I personally enjoy what's called a kicker replacement rookie selection, and basically you just draft a kicker, and that determines your rookie draft order in that first year of operation. So if you take a kicker in your with your first round pick, then and that's the first kicker off the board, that equates to the 101, but you're going to only draft the amount of players that are in the veteran draft, including the rookie picks that you take. So you may choose to take 0 rookie picks and then have 0 rookie picks, or you may have 10 rookie picks, throughout the first 3 rounds of 36 players, let's say, and you have 10. Now you have 10 of your roster picks are full of rookies, and so it gives that veteran startup draft another flavor that adds a draft. Rather than just picking the players in those spots, it allows for a second draft because, again, drafts are a lot of fun, but maybe trading during the draft is a lot of fun. And so when you can trade, that allows another layer of trading around and maneuverability. By adding those picks in that spot, a lot of times we don't see those initial startup rookie picks being traded until the rookie draft or after the veteran draft. So it does create a little bit less confusion, especially on the platforms like Sleeper that I use. Now, we've had to use, kind of spin the ball down a little bit and use maybe the last draft year as a substitute for the upcoming rookie draft if we just do an inverse draft. So, done many of the inverse drafts routine, but like kicker replacement, I think the best for me. Also like third round reversal, also like derby to get to those points. I think it takes a lot of it slants things as much towards skill and as away from random as much as possible. But I also believe, theoretically, that you can win from every spot on the draft board. Last year, so after the 2020 season, I had 37 dynasty teams, and I looked at those 37 dynasty teams, and I think we had a winner come out of those 37 dynasty teams from all 12 spots in the draft. So, there was more in some spots than others, but after the 2020 season, out of those 37 teams, we did have a winner come out of every single draft spot. So there wasn't a draft spot that didn't win after the 2020 startups. So I guess I look at that and say that you basically can win. It wasn't me that was winning, but it was you can win from every spot in the draft, and so I do believe that in theory. So, where you draft isn't as important as your draft strategy. Um, and I guess we'll start with that. I see a lot of people say, should I take or take? And you might laugh if you're hear me say this, because I also do that, but I don't think that I do it with the same way that other people do. I'm looking to find out what other people would do. I already know where I'm going with that pick. I want to kind of gauge the ADP market in another way, maybe with different round of players. So I'll ask the question more to find out what other people are thinking as opposed to just doing what they tell me. So maybe that's a different style play, but the only reason I'm asking people for their opinion is really to find out what maybe if they relay more to the masses, so I can maybe figure out if I have the 11th pick in a round and the second pick in the next round, I might see if I can slip. I might be trying to see if I can slip a player by. So that'll get you to the draft strategy and maybe the blueprint. And so 75 dynasty teams, I followed exactly the same blueprint every time. Now you say, geez, then you should have all the same players. Well, no, because we've got a group of different owners in every league, and we've got different rules in every league, and we've got different starting spots in every league, and I draft out of different positions in every league. So all those are the variables, but the plan. Okay, so let's look at the draft plan, and this is really simple, basic, and we use the KISS philosophy here: keep it simple, stupid. And the underlying so there's a couple things we do to get ready for the draft, and you can do this many ways, but I basically look at the league, and I look at the positions, and as you guys that know me know that I have no clue about IDP. I fake it till I make it. I'm trying some different things in IDP. So I look at the positions and I rank of the 4 positions that are skill position offense. Those are the positions I care about, and those are the positions I try to win at over my competition, and that's what I kind of look at. If it's head to head, which all the leagues are, I try to be the best in as many of those categories in a given snapshot in time as I can. And what I mean by that is I typically operate with a 3-year plan because I'm obsessed with youth, and then so I want my team to peak at the right time. So 3 years after draft is the peak time. That doesn't always happen, but that's the goal. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at, is a blueprint of a player that's going to be good in 3 years. I try to estimate that out. Okay, now I that's just a organizational philosophy, if you will. Doesn't drive the mechanism though. So I rank the positions: quarterback, tight end, running back, receiver. How important are they to me? How do they score? What's the supply and demand going to be in this league, which I don't quite know yet because I'm watching that. Okay, and what do they fetch in value? And when in that value, I look at that based on, how much value they bring. I really look at that based on what can I drive the market to, because I do believe that if I can set the market, I can almost drive it to a level of whatever I want. Now, certain positions don't have the scarcity, if you will, of other positions. So I rely on scarcity as well. So that's how I rank the positions. And then inside of those positions, I rank the players, keeping in mind that I focus on youth because youth matters to me. And that's kind of where I come up with my draft value. Now, the blueprint that I follow, and I try to follow it all the time, is this. I take the value that's given to me. I don't look at those positions. I don't look at anything. It's wherever value falls, wherever it falls. So I do, those of you that know me know that when I draft, I favor quarterbacks in the two quarterback settings. I In the old days, I used to favor running backs and just draft them like nobody's business because I think drafting running backs are great. So any one quarterback league you're in with me, you'll know that I'm obsessed with the running back position. I just like lots of them, and I always feel like in those same veins that I can always pull receivers. I've never had a team where I say to myself, man, I could win with this team if I just had some more receivers. I've never said that. I've just never had that problem. If I'm not winning, it's more than a receiver or two away from winning. Like it just always is. It's never that I say, man, I have the best running backs, I have the best quarterbacks, I have the best tight ends, and oh damn, I don't have any receivers. Like I just never have that. I don't know why. It just never is the case. So if it's never the case, I just know that my tendencies are to be able to find receivers. So I probably value them the least. I think in every league that I've done so far, I've always valued them the least. Even a four receiver starting lineup, I value them the least, if that makes sense. Like they're just always the least valued. And with exception, one quarterback league, I devalue the quarterback the least. I don't care about quarterbacks. And one tight end leagues with no premium, I value them even less too. So I guess I have an old school non PPR league that I would say that all I care about is running backs, and really all I care about is running backs there, non PPR. But in the other one quarterback leagues, all I care about is running backs and receivers, and the obsession of young, 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 and what top five running backs, top five running backs, top five running backs. How many of the five can I get? So if I'm obsessed with three of the five, four of the five. If I have four of the five, nobody can beat me. That's the attitude that I really roll. So as I was looking back at some of these drafts, really, obviously with the focus on youth, and I'm actually going through a startup draft as we speak, and it's sort of funny, where I went with it. It was just value dropping, and I was drafted out of the 9 spot in a 12-team league, and so if we look at that, that's also going to be the 4 spot coming back the other way. And what I found was in the 9 spot, just to give you an idea of where we went so far with this league. And I'm actually going to put the startup draft. I'm going to put that right in here as soon as it's done. I'll include it with this video just because we're probably a week away. But I'm just going to give you some high level things of maybe what I was thinking when I was drafting it, and the whys behind it. And so I started at the 109, and I took the 8th or the seventh quarterback off the board, I believe, with the 109, and that was Lamar. So I felt like he is a top five quarterback. Now that's probably some disagreement there, but I felt like that I was getting a value with Lamar. I look back to last year and he was definitely a top five, and I look back to the year before and he was definitely a top five. And while I don't think that he had a good year this year, or I mean in the last 2 years, I do think he's better than that. He might not be the guy that was 2019. He might not be that guy, but I think he's better than the 2020, 2021 version of him. And so I'm gonna go back to that and feel like in these leagues, where we can, get those high rushing upside. He feels like the ultimate cheat code in an offense that is good. And the other reason I like Lamar is that I feel like the running game for Baltimore was you know, gets a lot better next year, and so that's going to make the running quarterback just even more effective. So I'm really not too worried about him, and feel like that's a good investment. Coming back to the next way, the obsession with youth really started to set in, and but so you guys will probably think I maybe reached here a little bit, but I went with Javonte Williams just because I thought that the 21-year-old was what led the way for me. So here I am. I'm just trying to build you know, I'm just trying to build something that is young. So no matter what I do here, I have Lamar that's young, 25, and then I have Javonte Williams, a running back that's 21, that I believe. Now the range of outcomes is still great. I understand that, but I think he could be a top five running back next year. So if he can be a top five running back next year, then I've taken that. So now I've started to build in a super flex. I've built a quarterback, the youngest running back that has a chance to be a top five. I think. A 21-year-old. There's not very many 21-year-olds if you look around the league, and so obsessed with the youth there, with 21. I mean, and that's kind of what we did there. And then coming back in the third round, I noticed that the 101 rookie pick is still on the board. So that's a control piece. So I did that, and I continued on in this league to basically control the first round of the rookie draft, and actually ended up with 4 of the top 12 picks in round 1. And then and in the meantime, I was just kind of sprinkling in young running backs, 22-year-old running backs, just so that, the running back room is full. Okay, so as I look back, the running back room is full. I've got Lamar, right? And knowing that the 2022 draft is chocked full of receivers, right? So I've got all these rookie picks now. I have my running back room. I have 3 that are under 22 years old. So I actually am drawing a blank on all 3 of them. I know I've Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my running back 3, or the first flex that I have as a running back. But so all these young running backs. Antonio Gibson is the other running back. So I've got 3 running backs, and then I've got 4 rookie picks in the first round, and I've got Lamar. That's kind of how that first thing set up. Now got a little scared because now we're 7 picks in, and so now we're picking 8th, and I haven't traded anything yet. I've never got the value to trade. I do appreciate trading, and I try to trade if I can get better in these drafts, but just never had that. So just kind of picking out of the spot and just taking guys that either are better than the other guys. So then I got a little nervous because the quarterbacks were flying off the board, and so I just came back and just took. Now I started to get a little bit older, so I had Baker Mayfield as the quarterback too, but then I had to get really old and go with Jimmy G, and again I'm kind of drawing a blank on the 4th quarterback, but I got 4 quarterbacks in a super flex with 12 teams. So now, if everybody had 4 starting quarterbacks, now we'd be at 48. Now I do have Jimmy G, guys, like that. That's an older guy, so I did go with youth. But think about what Jimmy G brings back in trade market. At the point where I was taking him, we're in the 2nd round of rookie picks. Now, because I have 4, other people don't have 4. Some people must have 2, because I have 4. I know that Jimmy G is now worth a first round pick. So now I'm picking players later that I can return for a first round pick. So what I'm doing now is I'm filling up the team a little bit. I'm kind of covering my bases so I don't feel this obligation in the rookie draft, which is going to come up, to take position specific players. I think I'm going to get a bunch of receivers, just knowing the way the draft is going to go and with my picks and that sort of thing. But if I don't, now I'm sitting here, I have no tight end, no receivers. I've got these four quarterbacks, three running backs, and I want to take the best available players. Now, I may trade around in that rookie draft because I'm watching the trades. There's a lot of trades happening, so there's going to be mistakes being made. I'm not part of it right now, but I may look to move around to get into the players that I want to pick. But if I can't, then I need to take the best available players. So at that point, I might not have this full team, and so I need to have some receivers. Now, keep in mind the outlaying plan: youth, third year winning. So it doesn't mean that I have to win in year one, but I also never try to tank. So I'm always, if Javonte Williams isn't great in 2022, that's okay with me. It's more about looking down the line. Is he going to play in 2023 and 2024 when I'm really trying to win it with this thing? And I think so, because he's a 23-year-old in 2024 when this team tries to win. So, I really think I'm okay with guys like that. That they can win. I wouldn't even have to trade him at that point. He's going to just be in the peak, and we're going to have a good shot to win with him. So, second round draft capital picked on a guy that's probably going to be at a high level for me over the next couple of years. Whether that be, I won't even have to trade him to get that high level production, from that capital that I spent. So I'm just basically taking things. Now I fell in, and it's kind of laughable that I'm taking guys as my receiver ones and twos like Nico Collins, but remember Nico Collins is 21 years old. So if he is or isn't, he's the same to me as some of the David Bell types in this draft. So I always operate with receivers. You get a lot of them, and some of them work, some of them don't. You're going to have Denzel Mims, but you're going to have T. Higgins. And I don't know who Denzel Mims or T. Higgins are. Like, I don't know which line of work they're going to take, but if I have both of them, it really doesn't make any difference. I drop I drop Denzel Mims, and I keep T. Higgins. That's just how it works. If I draft Amon-Ra St. Brown um, and maybe somebody like Terrence Marshall, I keep Amon-Ra St. Brown or trade him, and I drop Terrence Marshall. Not that I would give up on either of these guys at this point. I still can't even give up on Denzel Mims 2 years later. But I guess my point is that you draft enough of them, somebody pans out, and so I just go with sheer numbers. And so Nico Collins to me feels like that same kind of guy. So is he a wide receiver one? No. Is it scary to be going in there? Yes. But if you draft enough, somebody will be the T. Higgins of the group, and that's all I'm looking for is the T. Higgins of the group, or the Amon-Ra St. Brown, or any of those other Pittman, or any of those other second round Elijah Moore, any of those kind of guys that are second round draft capital. It happens every year, it feels like, and this year should be better, I guess, if we look at the depth of receivers. So that's what we're looking for. When we focus on trading, and then we're still as we go down the list. So now we're in the third round of rookie picks if I was selecting right now. So now I'm actually saying to myself, man, I think players are better than drafted rookies, honestly. Because the rookies are really dart throws, and the players still left on the board actually are more known commodities. So pretty excited for where they are, and that's a little bit of a look. I see the video's getting up around 23 minutes, so I want to just drop that, kind of end things at that point. But that's a deep dive into drafting and maybe some draft strategy, and there's a lot of different formats and a lot of different ways to go, but that's kind of a little bit of how I've done it over 75 times that it has been very successful. And would encourage your comments. Love to know how you draft, and hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. And we'll talk to you next Sunday on the Fantasy Football Clown Show with Ed Smith.